Thanks for joining us tonight.
Well, since Ida hit, 12 senior citizens in nursing homes and senior living facilities have died. 5 of the victims were found this weekend when health officials with the city of New Orleans were checking out senior living facilities.
Erica Ferrando joins us live tonight from the convention center, where hundreds of residents from those facilities were brought before being taken to a safe shelter. Erica?
That's right, Devin and Karen. Over the weekend, hundreds of senior citizens were brought here to the convention center before they were transferred to shelters in northern Louisiana. These sudden evacuations happened nearly a week after Hurricane Ida hit, as conditions at their apartments turned deadly. Sitting outside St. John Birchman's Manor, Myrna Smith feels lost.
I'm an oxygen patient, for one. It makes me feel like it's no one but us.
This senior living facility is her home, but since Ida hit, it's felt like anything but.
We haven't had anything. They just start sending water and Gatorade, but we hadn't had none of that since the storm.
It's one of 10 senior living facilities that the city of New Orleans ordered to close this weekend. Health officials were making wellness checks, but found some senior apartments without air conditioning or adequate medical attention for residents. Inside the apartments, the city found 5 residents dead. 2 were at Flint Goodridge Apartments.
They were elderly and they were upstairs with no attention, no care, no water. No one was bringing them ice, no one was bringing them anything. They were just stuck up there, can't fend for themselves, so he will definitely kill you.
This woman's sister was a resident at Flint Goodridge.
They just left them to fend for themselves, elderly people. I am very upset.
She came by to get her sister's belongings, but was only given her medication.
She needs her wheelchair, she needs a shower chair, she needs her clothing. She don't have a TV at home, she needs TV.
When I tell you, you could bake in there. It was that hot. It was absolutely miserable.
Councilman Jay Banks walked through the facility Saturday.
There were rooms that the ceilings had caved in, that obviously water had gotten into. There's one where clearly the lady, there was no way she could sleep because the ceiling tiles had fallen wet on the bed, so the bed was soaking wet.
This all unfolded days after more than 800 nursing home residents who evacuated to a warehouse in Independence were forced to relocate. The warehouse was described as overcrowded, hot, and unsanitary. 7 residents died in connection. All 7 nursing homes involved were shut down.
Whoever is responsible needs to be held accountable, and we need to make sure we've got systems in place to ensure that this never happens again.
The president, the government, everybody, please help us.
Not all of the residents were taken to a shelter. Some had to be taken to hospitals. Others are staying with friends or family, but now none of them know where to call home. Live in New Orleans, Erica Ferrando, Eyewitness News.
Just heartbreaking. Thank you, Erica. The Louisiana Department of Health released new information tonight about the conditions of that warehouse in Independence.
And as you remember, more than 800 residents from 7 nursing home facilities owned by one man were crammed into the same building, that warehouse, to wait out the storm. In total now, 7 have died since those facilities were evacuated. The state has since ordered them to close, but the warehouse had been evaluated before the storm hit.
The Department of Health said in part today, quote, upon 2 in-person site visits prior to landfall, it did appear that from a facility standpoint, the minimum necessary components to provide a safe sheltering environment for a very short period of time were met. Then, quote, conditions clearly deteriorated following the storm.
Now, the state also said that residents were in varying stages of undress and were not adequately attended to. There were also piles of linens and trash on the floor, and they said an overwhelming stench of urine and feces throughout that building. Hospitals that received the patients told the state that it was clear they had been neglected.
Several of the now closed nursing homes are in Jefferson Parish. Parish President Cynthia Lee Shang addressed the situation in her nightly briefing.
There were 3 nursing homes in Jefferson Parish that were part of that group. I believe last count we know that there were 7 deaths resulting in that evacuation with those nursing homes. Unfortunately, 1 person, I am told, was from Jefferson Parish. So I heard from Dr. Cantor last night. He ordered last night the immediate closure of those 7 nursing homes pending further regulatory action.
We know that many people are still trying to relocate loved ones who were at one of those facilities. If you need help, you are urged to call 211. Again, this is a story we broke and have been covering extensively. We will continue to cover it. You can see the latest at any time on our website, on our social media pages for free, or on our app. In total, 13 people have died in our state in the week since Ida made landfall.
And the national death toll climbed as Ida moved to the northeast. At least 50 people died in flash floods, tornadoes, and mudslides up there. And one of the latest deaths was the lineman from Arkansas who was here to restore power, and he died in southeast Louisiana. According to Howard Transportation, Marley Menzer was a lead driver out of their Little Rock office, and he was run over and died.
Menzer had been with the company for 17 years. He leaves behind a wife and children. We're thankful to all of the linemen working around the clock to get our power back.
Of course, they're in town because hundreds of thousands of people in southeast Louisiana are still without power.
And as Danny Monteverdi tells us, Entergy says the damage was some of the worst it has ever seen. That's why there's longer delays in some areas to get the lights back on.
Until the power comes back, all some people could do Sunday to beat the heat was sit on the porch. The view here, at least, was a hopeful one. On Navarre Avenue in Lakeview, crews worked to fix lines high above the street and prepared new transformers to replace those that blew out. It was the same scene in Jefferson Parish. At West Metairie and Clearview, crews repaired snapped poles and downed lines. Even a week after Ida, 2/3 of southeast Louisiana remains in the dark, despite the work of thousands of linemen brought in to help. Entergy officials blame a staggering amount of damage.
The level of destruction and devastation is unprecedented.
At the peak of the power outages, 902,000 Entergy customers in the state were affected. By Sunday morning, 349,000 had power, but another 533,000 did not. In Orleans Parish, 79,000 of 205,000 customers had power, meaning 61% were still waiting. Entergy CEO Philip May says that there were more than 30,000 broken power poles alone that need to be fixed. Some, like these in Metairie, are easy to get to. And while Entergy has now assessed 100% of its system, equipment, poles, and lines in the hardest hit areas could take weeks to reach and lead to some people not having electricity for nearly a month.
Addressing the hardest hit areas, our challenges will increase tremendously. This could affect some of the estimated restoration times for those parishes in those hard hit areas.
That means waiting will be the name of the game in places such as Terrebonne, Lafourche, St. John, and St. Charles, where Ida spared little and power poles and lines can sometimes be in marshy areas.
In regards to some of those harder hit areas down in the bayou, we are certainly working to secure specialized equipment such as airboats, track machines, because we certainly will need that to be successful in our restoration.
Entergy says one area it's prioritizing along with homes are businesses such as groceries, pharmacies, and drugstores, so people have those services when they get their power back on as well. Danny Monteverdi, Eyewitness News.
And we also have an update on power restoration for CLECO customers. More than 80,000 people now have electricity in St. Tammany and Washington parishes. Linemen work today in Slidell, Abita Springs, Covington, Lacombe, Madisonville, and Mandeville.
And checking in on outages in the Washington St. Tammany Electric Co-op, there are just over 8,000 people without power in St. Tammany Parish, about 2,500 in Tangipahoa, and just over 1,300 in Washington Parish.
And here's just a few tips as we continue without power. Never use a generator inside a home, garage, or any other enclosed area. Keep them outside, away from vents, windows, and doors. Turn off the machine and let it cool down before you refuel it for at least 20 minutes, and install a carbon monoxide alarm. In Lower Jefferson Parish, roads are still flooded out. Mud cakes the floors of homes and covers once clear roads, but people are out there braving these conditions and helping their neighbors. Jalissa Garza from our Tegna family shows us how residents out there are lending a helping hand to each other.
Standing water, damaged homes, the impacts of Ida still seen and felt in Lafitte.
Right now we're living with generators and ice and stuff like that.
Neighbors helping neighbors, making sure that the residents in this community are taken care of.
We got up this morning about midnight, brought 1,700 sacks of ice down, hoping to be able to reach the people, and that's it. There's a need and we came.
And across the way in Barataria, many stuck and in need of supplies.
A barge broke loose and knocked it off. It's a bridge that swings open. It knocked it off its axis, so it's impassable. So that's what made it so hard for anyone to get any assistance, any help, a fire truck, a running vehicle.
Lisa Crossan and her husband Mike doing what they can to lend a helping hand by using their mud boat to hand out supplies.
Orange Beach United Methodist Church came in this morning, brought a van and a big trailer full of things, and I've been in a mud boat taking it house to house.
Crossan and her husband making sure their neighbors are taken care of.
My neighbors are 80. Another man at the end is 80. We've given them a small generator. We gave them a window unit. We've brought them food. We've filled their tanks for them to keep the generators running.
Including neighbors like Laura and Scott McLean, who felt the impacts of Katrina 16 years ago.
Our house was just raised by FEMA. Brick ranch house, 10 feet in the air, and thank God, because if not, we would have had 5 feet of water in this house and lost everything again.
And say they're grateful for their community and each other.
We got our lives, we got the contents of our house there when we get back, and we'll rebuild and put it back together. That's what you do on the bayou.
And Crossan says she's going to continue helping.
I'm able to do it, so I want to do it.
Jalissa Garza, Eyewitness News.
And the flooding there in Lafitte and Barataria is causing an issue at some cemeteries. President Cynthia Lee Sheng addressed their concerns earlier tonight.
The next item I have never talked about before. I am trying to be extremely sensitive to this very delicate issue. But when we had the rising waters in Barataria and Lafitte, there have been some caskets that were removed from their resting location. And people are starting to get concerned, obviously, about deceased family members. So I took a call from Mayor Kerner last night. I also spoke to Dr. Jerry Satanovich. This is actually handled by a special team at the State Department called a cemetery team. They have already done aerial surveys, and they will do and schedule to do a ground assessment shortly. Okay, so I trust that this team is going to handle it with the sensitivity that it deserves. And more information will be coming, but I want everybody to know that we are aware of it, we're on it, and we know it is a family member of yours that was once very loved, and we will handle it. I'm sure the team, we're not doing it, but I'm sure the team will handle it with very much respect.
Now, we're told the cemetery team will identify any caskets moved by the floodwaters and return them to their rightful resting places as soon as possible. Still ahead on the Sunday edition of the Eyewitness News at 10, we are heading to Lafourche Parish.
That area, like so many others, is beginning the recovery. We're going to meet those who face challenges as they move to rebuild next.
And later, Mass was held today at St. Louis Cathedral and other churches around the area. Those stories and more coming up.
In the aftermath of Hurricane Ida, it's easy to forget that all this is happening in the middle of a pandemic. And today, the governor stressed the importance of keeping COVID in mind.
It's all very challenging to know that we're still in the fourth surge of COVID. Now, we're doing better than we were, but we still have more people in the hospital today than we had at any point during the first three surges. And you know, I like to make this point, not because it warms my heart, but because it's important to make. 13 deaths from the storm thus far. The last 7 days that we reported, and we didn't report yesterday or today, the last 7 days we reported our COVID deaths were 350. So it's incumbent upon all of us to do what we can to minimize transmission in cases, to minimize hospitalizations and deaths. And you know, our healthcare workers have just been slammed for a year and a half.
As people begin to come home to Lafourche Parish, their return comes with a warning: be prepared to self-sustain. The power is still out, gas is hard to come by, and the sheriff's office says every home has some kind of damage. Molly Oak reports.
In the small fishing town of Golden Meadow,
Mr. John was living there. That was Marie in that house.
Where neighbors feel more like family.
Whoever needs anything, they're right there to help you. They are right there to help you.
Now they're feeling
just helpless.
After Hurricane Ida pummeled the area.
I'm just coming back from Alabama. Yes.
Tell me what you see.
Total devastation.
We met Marilyn Dewey just as she pulled into her driveway. It's her first time back since evacuating before the storm.
Couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. It's this much damage. But I was born and raised here. I've never seen anything like this. Never.
A block over.
That was a trailer park all right there.
Tammy Bouzigard lives in the middle of that damage. Her home is one of the few left standing.
This was the height of my house.
Though not as high as it once was.
Everything's ruined in there. Everything.
For a neighborhood that's used to helping each other out, Tammy says now they need someone else to step in.
We need help. We need somebody to come. We need them to come over here. We need FEMA. We need Red Cross. We need the officials to come.
Because right now, there's not much that can be saved.
This is terrible. These poor people, I don't know what they're going to do when they're going to come back. I don't know what they're going to do.
Marilyn asked the same question. She could barely take her eyes off of what's left of the mobile homes.
I feel sorry for those people. It is hitting my heart. I got a home I can come to, but they don't. You know.
The one thing that pulled her attention?
There's my cat. My cat survived. Oh my goodness. Hey, buddy.
There's that same determination to rebuild here that you find throughout the area.
We're gonna do what we have to do.
But for this neighborhood, the road to get there will be much longer.
Oh my. And looking at what we have on tap as far as the tropics goes this week, we will have some rain associated with some tropical moisture, but thankfully that area that we've been talking about, Invest 91L, that looks like it might have a low-end chance to develop, kind of looking a little bit doubtful, and I'll show you why in a second. But it does look like, first of all, it's going to be hot for tomorrow, Labor Day, and then we will probably get some rain from Invest 91L, even if it doesn't develop, which it's not looking like a high chance that it will, but it will bring us some downpours, potentially maybe Tuesday and Wednesday, probably wrapping up, it looks like right now, by early Thursday, because we have another cool front moving in at the end of this week. And I think this one is going to be a little bit more noticeable with some pretty dry air. I'll show you that in a second too, moving in for the weekend. Current temperatures, those 70s to about 80. We did have a couple of downpours, just very spotty and sort of isolated earlier, but now everything pretty quiet. Our wake-up forecast for early tomorrow, North Shore and South Shore of Lake Pontchartrain, mainly middle 70s, and it will be mainly dry, it looks like, with mostly clear skies. And then tomorrow, highs about 91. Today we hit 92, so right in that range tomorrow. Another heat advisory for those feels-like temperatures. easily up to 105, or maybe some of us kind of topping out around 95 to 100, depending on how early we get the rain, which I'll show you in a second too. Here's our forecast for tomorrow, hour by hour. Just be prepared for the scattered rain. And we'll see on Precision Cast as we move through tonight, we're going to be seeing a little front settling in. This is not the big one for the end of the week, but it will just move toward us with a trough of low pressure. Here's tomorrow 2 p.m. Just some scattered rain. This model, the latest run, showing a flare-up of rain maybe late afternoon, early evening, and most calming down overnight. But this is early Tuesday, and you can see a pretty decent chance for more rain on Tuesday. That's why our rain chance is going to be elevated really Monday through potentially Wednesday. Heading into Wednesday, by the way, you can see this movement from the south to the north. That would be some of that tropical moisture edging in. And looking at the tropics and diving into that now, here's Larry. Thank goodness this one not going to affect, it looks like, any land at all, hopefully. And then here is Invest 91L. So Larry, you can see its path off to the north, curving around a big high here and maybe staying east even of Bermuda. But of course, we're watching this area, and the chance of development really has not increased. We've been looking at this for many days now, and it's just a little low pressure area just now edging off of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. This would be the general area for it to develop if it did, but look at what the models are doing. They have it just kind of all over the place, not strengthening. Really, that's been the trend today. Yesterday, they had at the most maybe a depression or a tropical storm, and now they're saying barely anything. So we will see. We'll track it. We'll certainly keep you updated. But at this point, it has dry air to face in the Gulf of Mexico as it drifts northward, and a good bit of wind shear as well. So it looks like it will kind of get drawn this way with this trough of low pressure that we're going to be having, and probably bring some rain to the Gulf Coast. But let me show you the GFS model showing you can see some rain, but here might be that real surge of the deep tropical moisture. Interesting to see. It might keep it a little farther off to the southeast or east. And then here's our late week cold front that's going to be drying us out. And look at these dew point temperatures. Pretty humid for the next several days, but look at the big drop off. So when you get dew point temperatures in the 50s, that's some pretty decently dry air. I mean, that is not maybe quite a super nice October cool front, but it's decent for sure. And we will be able to feel that a little more noticeable than this front that we had coming in for this weekend. So again, at this point, we're looking for potentially maybe an inch or two of rain, maybe about 3 or a couple more depending on how many downpours we see set up. But again, we might see some of the deepest moisture again stay off to the east of us. So we will see. But tomorrow, just kind of a standard summer-like kind of day. Few afternoon downpours to watch out for. Tuesday and Wednesday are the days that will up our rain chance for now, at least a bit. Thursday will be drying out, it looks like, and then less humid, and even temperatures going down a little bit. Some models even have some upper 60s right now south of the lake for the morning. So we will see if that pans out. For now, I kept it near 70. Mornings on the North Shore, middle 60s by the end of the week.
The faithful returned to Mass today, a week after Ida made landfall.
In LaPlace, parishioners at St. Joan of Arc Catholic Church attended Sunday Mass, and the church itself was damaged, so they attended in the gym, and more than 100 people went and listened to the first reading, which encouraged them to, quote, be strong and fear not.
Archbishop Gregory Aymond was able to celebrate Mass at St. Louis Cathedral this morning. Power was restored to the French Quarter a few days ago.
The Archbishop referenced Ida's aftermath in his homily.
In one way or another, we are all heartbroken and disappointed, whether it is for ourselves or for others who are suffering more than we are. Our pain and our loss is a true reality. Such reality is not grasped by the human mind. Nevertheless, let us not turn a deaf ear to Jesus. Let us hear him say to us this morning in this liturgy, "You are not alone. I am with you. Let me carry you as you rebuild your life, as you rebuild your home."
Well, we hope to give you a little break from the storm next on 4th Down on 4. Join Doug, Ricardo, and myself. We'll talk more college football, UCLA's win over LSU, and Tulane's close loss at Oklahoma. Plus, the relocated Saints get ready for a home season opener in Jacksonville. Our Saints analyst Nick Underhill joins us to break down all the black and gold moves of the latest 2 weeks. And we'll head to Terrebonne Parish as LSU's freshman star Mason Smith, who's from Houma, deals with the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. 4th Down on 4 is next here on Channel 4.